Hundreds of people have rallied in Niger's capital city, Niamey, apparently in support of the military junta which recently ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. The rally comes as Niger celebrates its Independence Day from former colonial power France. Anti-French sentiment has been running high since the coup.
Independence for Niger. That's what supporters of the military junta say they're defending on the anniversary of Niger's independence from France. Hundreds gathered in the capital's main square to protest Western and regional sanctions in response to the recent coup. They also denounced threats of military intervention from West Africa's regional alliance, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS.
More people are joining, and we will protest against all these ECOWAS countries and anyone that wants to impose inhumane and unpopular measures on Niger.
On Sunday, ECOWAS gave the junta rulers 1 week to transfer power back to the democratically elected president, Mohamed Bazoum, ousted in last week's coup. But the coup's leader, General Abdurrahman Chiani, has hinted at a possible compromise.
Once the tense emotions are gone, we can ensure the conditions for a steady transition within a relatively short deadline. And a general election, and especially a better approach in our fight against terrorism and saving our country from economic and social pain.
Many in Niger blame France for that pain. Though Niger achieved independence 63 years ago, pro-junta demonstrators say the former colonial power has continued to exploit Niger, a resource-rich nation with one of the world's poorest populations. The failure of France's military presence in Niger to end an Islamist insurgency has also left some disillusioned. Now, many supporters of the coup are hoping the country will turn towards Russia in the hopes of finding a new ally.
A lot to unwrap. Let's do that with DW correspondent Amaka Okoye, who's covering this from neighboring Nigeria. Good to see you, Amaka. We just heard the coup leader signaling his willingness to seek a transition back to democracy. How believable are his words?
That's a very important question that you have asked, Nicole. I mean, for those pro-junta, those who are in support of them, they have several reasons to believe what he's saying, what the Abdurrahman Chiani is promising them. You know, this is what they want to hear. He seemed to be telling them. Previously, we heard him saying, listen, we're going to have dialogue. We're promising you a smooth transition, including an election. For those who are supporting, whom we are seeing the growing numbers, we are seeing them in growing numbers, those that came out today saying that this is, we want the junta, no more foreign interference, no more France. They have several reasons to believe him, because they seem to be he seemed to be saying exactly what they want to hear: a leadership that is firm, a leadership that the people can resonate, a leadership that is theirs and not foreign, or maybe being led by proxy, if you like, by a former colonial power, if you like.
Mm-hmm. So if we were to take his statement seriously and an election would be held soon, would this satisfy the regional bloc ECOWAS too?
It is very unlikely that that would make any sense to ECOWAS, because, as you do know, ECOWAS is standing on the point that the deposed president is the democratically elected president of Niger Republic. And so for them, any other voice that is not him is not democratic. And the overthrow of the deposed president for them is a threat to democracy. Even though he's promising smooth transition and even an election, on what basis could be the question for an election? Remember that the deposed president Bazoum is just in his second year. So I don't clearly this is not going to appease. It's not going to impress ECOWAS really, because what they want is the retaining of status quo, which is reinstate back the deposed president as the democratically elected president of the Republic of Niger.
Mm-hmm. The coup leaders have the backing of neighbours Burkina Faso and Mali. How could this affect the prospect of a diplomatic solution to all of this?
I think we are in a situation where we are seemingly seeing a split even within ECOWAS. We have Burkina Faso, we have Mali, we also have Guinea saying, listen, we don't stand by these sanctions. We are against these sanctions that is imposed on Niger by ECOWAS. So it's a situation where it seems like even ECOWAS itself, that is supposed to be for regional cohesion, is not having it together in terms of members. Now, remember also that these both Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger are also, former French colonies, and French speaking. So it is concerning for the region because there seems to be some sort of alliance within some group within the ECOWAS, and that's going to destabilize ECOWAS even further, because if they cannot be harmonized as a bloc, then there is a problem. Even more when it's an internal problem, like we are seeing, there is already division, then that's going to bring more room for chaos and instability even within the ECOWAS itself.
Mm-hmm. Now, today, on the 63rd anniversary of Niger's independence from France, pro-junta protesters have been marking the day, many chanting anti-France slogans and waving Russian flags. We just saw it in the report. How important are these two foreign powers to the coup supporters?
Now, the question of importance, especially of France now to Niger, is quite debatable. We have seen very strong, anti-French sentiments there. I remember speaking to someone earlier today, and, he said that today is indeed the independence because we are celebrating being able, quote unquote, kick out the French. So importance in this case, as far as those who are supporting the junta is concerned, they really don't see any relevance or importance of the French to them. And for Russia, again, we know that some people may be seeing that this may be an opportunity for Russia to increase its influence and stretch it further to Niger. Remember that already in Mali is already gaining relevance, if you like, where its mercenary group Wagner is quite operational. And even though we heard the people come on, the average Nigerian saying we want Russia, we've not clearly gotten a statement, for instance, from the junta to say this is what we want to, this is the way we want to go. We really want to seek an alliance with Russia. But clearly what is happening now will give Russia, more entrance, if you like, into that region if care is not taken.
Yeah. Now, the foreign actors aside, how much domestic support is there really for the coup among the people of Niger?
That's a very important question, because the first day of the coup, we saw, some voices that were anti-coup and saying, no, we are for democracy. But very interestingly and very quickly, we are seeing that those voices seem to have now been silenced, and we're hearing more those who are for the coup, which means that there are more people who are in support. Throughout today, most of the people who came out are really saying we are in support of the junta. We are in support of kicking out any foreign interference. We are in support that the military should take over. We are in support that want to see Niger that will work for all of us. It doesn't matter, even if it is now the military. We don't want a leader who is not speaking for us, who is still speaking, if you like, for former colonies. So yes, there is massive support, and interestingly, it is growing, especially among the average Nigerian. They seem to be saying this is our time, and this is really what we want. But how that is going to translate is what we'll begin to see in the coming days, because with every coup is different. It's never a cut and paste situation where what works perhaps in Mali or in Burkina Faso is going to work for Niger also.
DW's Amaka Okoye, thank you very much. That was very clear.
Thank you.
We can now speak about these developments in Niger with Alex Vines. He's the head of the Africa program at the Chatham House think tank. Welcome back to DW. It's good to see you. Now, we just heard one protester saying that the country was, and I'm quoting him there, breaking free from the grip of colonialism. Is that really what's happening in Niger right now?
There's clearly anti-French sentiment in Niger. It's widespread across the Sahel, so that's not a surprise to hear. Fake news and trolling, including by Russia, has been encouraging it. But even without it, there is a skepticism about France. So that's for sure. What I'm less convinced about is that there's widespread support for Russia. Yes, there are flags being brandished in demonstrations, but I don't know if that means that there's at all a groundswell of wishing Russia to be involved in this situation.
Then why are we hearing and seeing people with Russian flags and saying that, you know, this is someone that we would rather turn to? Is this the consequence of misinformation? How do you explain that?
Well, it's a bit of it's tied to anti-Westernism and particularly being anti-French. So one way to be anti-French is to be opposite and therefore kind of advocate Russia. But Russia hasn't invested into Niger. It has invested in trolling and misinformation. And I think what this is more reflective of frustration over many years of kind of French engagement. So again, my analysis of this isn't necessarily a groundswell of support for Russia. It is more about protesting at the failures of Western engagement in the past and looking for alternatives, not necessarily Russia per se.
Yeah, what's the saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I want to move on to something that we heard the Coup leader say today. He is signaling a willingness to talk about a transition towards democracy. Now, if it's not power he's after, what is his end game here, or is he simply lying?
So that's a lot more significant, I think, in that the coup leader, General Chisan, has been indicating now that he may consider a short timetable. And so I think this is a reflection of the pressure that he's under, both from the ECOWAS sanctions, the pulling out of international support of Niger, and the threat of military action by the Economic Community of West African States, the regional body. And to be honest, that's been part of the plan, was to look at a way of giving a off-ramp for this military junta. And so ECOWAS had been considering that some sort of very short transition period pending an election might be the route forward. Now, the key issue that remains is what happens to the current president, President Bazoum. Does he remain president over a short transition period and then stand for mandate again through an election? We'll have to see. The deadline for the junta to make a definitive move in terms of supporting a transition, ending their coup, is this Sunday. So the clock is ticking.
What do you think is going to happen come Sunday?
Well, plan A and B for the ECOWAS, the regional body, is to try and find some sort of off-ramp negotiated settlement. The plan C is military intervention, but I don't think that's going to happen imminently, but it is being planned for. And the junta, I think, understands that ECOWAS is different now than it was last year, for example. And that military intervention and very sharp sanctions are very much on the table. In fact, the sanctions are already starting to affect Niger's economy. So I think the next week is going to be really critical.
But the junta also knows that ECOWAS is not necessarily on the same page when it comes to this, specifically also when it comes to a military intervention. Are they taking this as serious as ECOWAS would like them to?
Look, I think it was yesterday that the juntas in West Africa all united together saying that they would stand in solidarity with Niger. They're frightened. They're not used to the Economic Community of West African States saying that they will military intervene, that countries of ECOWAS need to fulfill and obey the protocol on governance and security of the region. And I think they have miscalculated, because President Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, he's also the chair of ECOWAS. He's allergic to putschists. He has been detained by military dictators. He does not like them. And Nigeria is the regional military power in the whole region. And so if it puts a mind to it, I think you can see a coalition of Nigeria leading, but Ghana being involved, Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast also being involved, probably Senegal. That's not something that the putschists in Niger would wish to confront. Hence why I think we're beginning to see a softening of their position, talking about a transition.
That was Alex Wines of Chatham House. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.